not only on behalf of this body, but also on behalf of the men and women who have served this great nation and their families. And Chairman Jeff Miller, Chairman, thank you very much and welcome. We'll remember that we got to push that button probably to get you online, but you've been a part of an intense effort that I know where you're trying to hear from people, where you're trying to effectively communicate back out to the American people, the veterans community, where you're trying to let your colleagues know not only what the facts of the case are, but how we should proceed together. And it has been really a very interesting model of success that I think that you have enjoyed, and we're delighted that you're here today. And obviously, without objection, anything you have in writing will be entered the record. The gentleman, the young chairman, is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The ranking member, Ms. Slaughter, I appreciate the opportunity to come to the committee today to talk about a proposed amendment to the Senate amendment to H.R. 3230. Throughout the committee's in-depth, ongoing, and bipartisan investigation of the Department of Veterans Affairs, two issues have continually been brought to the forefront as necessary to correct unacceptable failures within the Department, failure by which, by extension, directly impacts veterans in every one of our districts. First and foremost, it is imperative that VA increase timely access to high-quality health care for our veterans, whether within a VA medical facility or through non-VA providers. Secondly, VA leaders whose mismanagement or willful deceit led to this failure need to be held accountable for their actions, particularly when those actions cause harm to veteran patients. The amendment before us addresses each of these concerns by combining two bipartisan bills that have already passed the House with overwhelming majorities early this year, and that's H.R. 4810, the Veteran Access to Care Act of 2014, and H.R. 4031, the VA Management Accountability Act of 2014. H.R. 4810 would improve access to care for veterans by requiring VA to provide a veteran with the option of receiving care through a non-VA provider if that veteran resides more than 40 miles from a VA medical facility or has been on a VA waiting list for a medical appointment, or who is unable to schedule a medical appointment within VA's standard, whatever that standard may be. It's my understanding at this point the VA has moved away from the standard of 14 days. The bill would also require VA to contract with an independent entity to conduct a comprehensive and objective assessment of the health care provided through VA and eliminate all bonuses for VA employees for the next 2 fiscal years. H.R. 4031, the VA Management Accountability Act, would give the Secretary the authority to fire or demote senior VA managers for poor performance. Pretty simple. This authority is modeled after the same authority that we have to remove our staff members from our own staff who are underperforming. This authority would provide VA Secretary with the tools needed to hold VA senior managers accountable and restore the country's confidence in the Department and those who lead the Department. I understand that our colleagues in the Senate have their own bill concerning health care access for veterans and accountability for senior managers. And I have spoken with both the ranking member, Mike Michaud, and Senator Sanders and Burr about their legislation, and I remain confident that while there are still some areas of disagreement on the best way to reach our shared goals, we can and we will come together without delay and reach an agreement that best serves and supports our veterans. That's why I'm asking this committee to provide for consideration of the amendment that's before you today and give us the authority to conference with the Senate. Some would say that we should immediately take up the Senate bill and pass it as it is. First, the Senate amendment to H.R. 3230 contains many provisions that included in legislation that has already passed the House. Secondly, I want to caution members that we are dealing with a very technical and possibly very expensive provision that will have long-lasting effects on VA and the manner in which veterans throughout the country receive their needed care for years to come. And while I support the intent behind many of the Senate's provisions, the gravity of the issues before us require that House members be given the opportunity to sit down face to face with our Senate colleagues so that we may make sure that we get this right for our veterans and their families. Both chambers must be given the opportunity to make sure that we ultimately send to the President's desk meets our commitment to our nation's veterans and to the country's taxpayers. And I appreciate the opportunity to testify today for your dedication to fulfilling our promise to America's veterans. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, and I yield back my time.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. The underpinnings of your suppositions I agree with. And I believe that we must recognize that the Veterans Administration should not be given additional time nor money to continue their mismanagement, but rather that we have to get immediate relief to these members of our veterans community. And I believe that that should be the ongoing place at which we move forward on these very important events. Mr. Chairman, if I could at this time, I'd like to yield my time to the gentleman from Louisville, Texas, a gentleman who served as a physician in the VA system and might offer a number of insight at this time, and I would yield to the gentleman from Louisville, Texas.
Would you all mind if, before you do that, may I have a moment?
Oh, excuse me. The gentlewoman would be recognized.
Burgess, but Mr. Michaud couldn't make it for some reason. I've asked that a copy of what he wanted to testify in unanimous consent to put in the record be handed out to all the members.
That would be
delightful,
delightful,
as well as to Mr. Miller.
because you and I recognize that the Chairman does work so well with him, and his comments, advice would be well received. And so we will make sure that you'll make sure that we get a copy of that also.
They're coming right now.
Thank you very much. Gentleman from Louisville, Texas, Dr. Burgess, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for being out of the room. I have the hearing on GM tomorrow, so trying to prepare on multiple fronts. I do appreciate the work of the Chairman on the Veterans Affairs Committee. This is a problem that just simply must be fixed. There is no other answer. Many of these things people have wondered about for a long time, but the ability of a veteran to be able to access a care facility when the VA facility is not available to him in a timely fashion or because of a geographic discrepancy, I think it only makes sense that we pursue that. I think there are a number of other questions that will come up as we go through this. I did note that the Chairman asked the question of the previous panel that was here on the DOD appropriations bill. The concept of not having the interoperability between the electronic health records of the VA and the DOD is one that I simply do not understand. I have been involved with this since 2007. The problem has yet to be solved, and my hope is the Chairman was pretty direct in his questioning of the Chairman of the Subcommittee on Defense Appropriations that it would be fixed. So I hope that is accurate, because this is a problem that certainly we've dealt with long enough. Mr. Chairman, I guess the question that comes up, and one that you just hear from time to time, is the VA system just simply too big? Is it too big to manage? Is it too big to have accountability? I mean, you work in it every day. You deal with it every day. Do you have a sense of that?
I would say out of 330,000 employees out there, the vast majority of those are doing the work that they are supposed to do and doing it for the right reason. Without question, this is a bureaucracy that unfortunately has been without a leader for quite some time. And unless there is accountability, which in fact this particular amendment and our bill actually provides, I don't see that we're going to change the culture within the system itself. Much of what VA does is very good. Veterans depend on that. But if the Secretary does not have the ability to fire or discipline, especially the senior managers, some of which have been involved in the deceitful process that we've seen unfold before us, people need to understand they're there to serve the veteran and not themselves. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, also respond to the electronic health record.
Yes.
We held the first joint meeting between the VA Committee and the Armed Services Committee, specifically with both secretaries, DOD and VA, a couple of years ago. And then subsequent to that, DOD said that they did not want to proceed forward with the fully electronic health record, as I think most of us would think that they would, after expending $1 billion. And I think it's ludicrous that they would have nothing to show for that. But the chairman of the VA Milcon Committee has assured us that he is going to work every possible avenue that he can to force them to move in that direction. And we are watching now as they go through the bidding process for what platform they're going to come out and use next.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the recognition. I'll yield back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. So that you're aware, I did not do anything but ask questions, but I directly said to the gentlemen that were here just before you, the Appropriations Subcommittee Chair and the Ranking Member, that I felt like at least a member of the military, as they departed, should get a copy on a disk, a flash drive, something, their complete medical history, where they would have it. They could take it to somewhere, even if you can't transmit it properly. I mean, I've been a part of an organization that was called Bell Labs, and then Bell Communications Research, that transferred millions of pieces of data through electronic interchange. It can be done. And to spend $1 billion and not at least give a member of the military their own records would seem like we need to review that a little bit more. I'm not here to challenge you today. I'm here to thank you and to pat you on the back for the great work. It seems like I'm using my time. I defer to the gentlewoman from New York.
Thank you very much. Mr. Miller, I appreciate the work that you've done. I represent a county of 75,000 veterans in it. We don't have a hospital. I struggle with a clinic. But I think I should, in fairness, say that I do have a nephew who works for the Veterans Administration. And because of that, I think it would probably be most proper that I would just recuse my vote and not make that. So, thank you.
Gentleman yields back. Gentlewoman Vice Chairman of the Committee, Ms. Fox, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I share many of the concerns that the gentleman from Texas has expressed. And I didn't have time to look at this, but there's in my clips today an article about the general ineptness in the Federal Government relative to information technology. When I can find that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to submit it for the record. But I think it's unconscionable that so much time has passed, as described by the chairman and ranking member of the previous subcommittee, in dealing with DOD and Veterans Affairs to make these records operable. And I hope that we are going to see some progress. I'm sorry that it's taken such a scandal in the VA to force this to happen, but I believe that all of us want to push and push and push on this issue, and so I welcome the work that's being done by the Veterans Affairs Committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentlewoman yields back time. Gentleman from Massachusetts recognized. Gentleman does not seek time. Gentleman from Utah is recognized. Gentleman does not seek time. Gentleman from Florida, Judge, does not seek time. Is there any member of the committee that would wish to be recognized at this time? The gentleman from Georgia would be recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to ask the chairman, before he walked in, we were having a discussion about how the composition of our budget has changed, and it was formerly $2 out of $3 invested by the Federal Government in making a difference in people's lives. Now that has been turned on its head. 27 cents out of every dollar is invested. The rest is consumed in mandatory spending. In the shared zeal, both sides of the aisle, both sides of the Capitol have to serve veterans. You talk about the accountability that is needed to make sure these dollars are getting to the veterans. I think of that accountability as taking place through the appropriations process as opposed to the mandatory side of the ledger. As we contemplate this action, are these dollars going to be authorized on the mandatory side of the ledger or on the discretionary side of the ledger?
The vast majority of it is discretionary. I think it's about $640 million is going to be mandatory, but most will be discretionary.
Knowing your commitment to seeing these men and women served, and knowing your history of providing strict accountability, does it give you any concern at all to lose control over the accountability of those dollars on the mandatory side, or do you feel like you're going to that's the best we can do, and that's exactly where those dollars ought to be placed?
This is where I believe this is where these dollars need to be. There is a difference between what the Senate has passed and what the House has passed regarding our ability to provide oversight, and them to have to come back and ask us and prove that they do need the additional dollars. The Senate bill actually has such sums as may be necessary. So I do believe that we can provide proper oversight if the Department of Veterans Affairs will be truthful in the testimony that they give, and they have not been up to this point on many issues. So while the VA budget has continued to grow and grow over the past number of years, this is an issue that has to be resolved, and then I do believe it is in an emergency status.
Well, there is nobody better to lead us through this crisis time than you, Mr. Chairman. I'm grateful to you for what you do. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman yields back his time. A gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just want to thank Chairman Miller for all the work he does for our veterans. You know, that's a spot in my heart that is so very important that we have a champion here supporting them and making sure that their care is the utmost importance. And you hit it on the head. That's the only job the VA has. It's the only job. You know, I have 115,000 veterans in my district, and they depend upon the VA and the clinics that are available. Most of them love the service they get in most cases. Now, at the front end of it, to get the service has been an abomination that we've dealt with for years, and you know that. So I appreciate what you're doing, the committee's doing. And lastly, on $1 billion that the two branches of this government, I guess we have nothing to show for it. It's absolutely amazing that we could spend that kind of money and people get bonuses. I mean, it just is amazing. But I want to thank you again for all your leadership on the VA committee and continued leadership. Thank you very much. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back his time. Gentleman from Orlando, Florida is recognized. Gentleman does not seek time. The gentlewoman from Miami, Florida
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I also want to thank the Chairman for his leadership on this tragedy about the VA scandals. And I know that he had been so good. Unfortunately, when we had a problem with the Miami VA with the colonoscopies that were botched and veterans had been exposed to hepatitis and HIV, and you did a great job on that, and you're very helpful with the new problems that we're having with the Miami VA. For example, we had a wonderful 27-year-old Iraqi vet who was inpatient in the drug rehab center in the Miami VA and died of a drug overdose while being a patient there, and it showed that the security was lax, the cameras were not functioning. The VA had told the mom that he choked on food. She did not even know that he had overdosed. They buried him, no headstone. Just today, Mr. Chairman, thanks to your leadership, just today they put a headstone on Nicholas Cutter's grave. It has just been shocking, the lack of accountability, of transparency. And yes, I agree, most veterans are fairly happy with their care, and so we don't want them in any way to think that we are doing any damage to their care. That, you know, that they seem to have so much invested in the folks there that nobody wants to have a mirror shown at the Miami VA director or the chief of staff. By the way, had to give up, he gave up his medical license in New York And after that, he was hired as the center's chief of staff. And he gave up his license because of problems from a botched surgery where a patient died under his care. So the Miami VA has been rocked with scandals, and we thank you for your leadership because you've been there every step of the way, and we hope that we get that accountability and that transparency because our veterans deserve no less. So thank you, Chairman Miller. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate the gentleman's discussion with the chairman. Does any other member of the committee seek to have a discussion with the chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee who's before us today about the legislation? Seeing none, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you very much not only for your time, but really for handling such very sensitive and difficult issues in a professional, straightforward manner. Quite honestly, we look forward to your continued insistence that this be fixed, that it be fixed properly, but it be fixed now. I believe there are reasonable ways to do that. I think you're off on the pathway that would give our veterans confidence, again, not just in whatever system, healthcare system they have, but to thank them for their service to this great nation, that this nation cares very much about fixing the problem. And I thank the gentleman. You're now excused.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.